Hey guys, Brian with the Seat Shop. Today we're going to be tearing down a Jeep Grand Cherokee. So the Jeep Grand Cherokee year range is going to run from 2011 all the way up through 19 in terms of the install. So the frame, the seats, all that stuff is going to be the same. There's a couple different variations in the cover within those year ranges based on the edition, you know, whether it's a limited or a Laredo or Overton or Summit package or whatever. This happens to be a limited edition, but the frames are pretty much going to be the same on them, so you can use this video to walk you through the install for all those different models. So from 11 to 19, Jeep Grand Cherokee. Okay, here's some of the tools we need. We're gonna start with just the bottom. We got a pair of needle nose pliers. I got an impact wrench here, and impact. You can use regular socket drive if you need it. A flathead screwdriver, pry tool. I got an extension to make it a little bit easier on some of the spots. You don't have to have it. I got a 10 millimeter. I got a a Tex 50, a T50, a T30, and a T20. The three Torx bolts, 3 Torx drives we're going to need to pull some stuff off on the underneath side of this. So nothing crazy. T50 is not a real common size you're going to find in your normal tool set. If you need to buy a single, just an individual T50, instead of buying a whole set, you can get them at Lowe's or Home Depot, but you're going to have to buy a whole set to get the 50. Go to an auto parts store, O'Reilly's, anything like that. They'll sell the individual socket. They're about $4 or $5 roughly, and you can get a T50 because it's just a little bit bigger size, and you don't want to spend $30 on a whole set just to get the T50 out of it. So go to your local auto parts store, O'Reilly's, anything like that. They'll have individual sockets for it. So first, I'm going to start by pulling this panel off the side here. Move this stuff to the side. I'm going to take my flathead. So when the seat's in the truck, the seat belt bolts into here. So if this were in the truck, you'd see the seat belt going through this little slit here in the side. So we're going to pull this panel off because when you're taking the seat out of the truck, you're going to have to pull this panel off first. There we go. And there's going to be a bolt right here. This is what you're going to use your T50. So on the side of the seat here, you'll see a bolt here that's holding the seat belt on. Take your T50, undo that bolt. That way your seat belt will come loose from the seat. So when you unbolt the seat from the truck, you can actually remove it out of the vehicle, okay? So you'll need the T50 in your flathead when you're at your vehicle, pulling the seat out, pull that bolt out, you're good to go. Pull this panel off, then the bolt. So next there's a little Torx in here. I believe this is gonna be our T20. Get the 20 on here. So here's our T20. We're going to pull this guy out. This is actually the only screw that's holding it on. The rest of them are just some clips. Okay, there's that. All right. Now, on the back of the seat here, this plastic piece, there's just a little quick clip inside of there. We can grab this and we can just pull it off. That'll pop off, okay? I'll show you that clip in a little more detail when we get the rest of the plastic off. So now on the inside of this, there's a metal prong that runs here that's facing forward. There's one at the bottom, and there's also one at the front. So this plastic panel will start forward, and it pulls back onto those panels. So there's a kind of a rectangle piece on the inside of the plastic panel, and the metal bar slides into that panel. So it starts out forward and then it slides back in. So we're going to pull this forward and this will go, then pull this out some, and then it'll go forward. There's one other clip we got to take off. There's a plastic piece on the inside of this frame here that holds on to this piece. So there's a connection here, and there's one up underneath under here too. So I'm going to take my flathead. You can see there's a little, right here, there's a little plastic catch. Because you want to try not to break this thing. So I'm going to try to push up. I'm going to get my pry tool too. I'm going to go. So I'm going to go from the top and kind of put it in between this piece and this piece, just to give it a little bit of tension. And then I'm going to push in with my flathead here and try to push it kind of up and then in. There we go. That came loose. There's another one at the back. Looks like that one's already came loose where that was broken. So once we get this completely off, we'll show a little bit better. So now that this is separated, this should push, it just slides forward, okay? This piece here was just fell off on the inside. It just pushes in and clips into place. It just snaps into place like that, okay? So here's those metal tabs I was talking about. How this comes forward, this piece comes forward, that comes forward, that comes forward. It slides in these slots on the inside of the plastic panel, okay? The top piece was broken, that was broken off. But it slides in there, there, and there, okay? And then you get your one screw. So that's how this piece will come off. If you break this, when you put it back together, you can put some epoxy on it or some super glue, whatever, to kind of hold it back in. But if you put a little tension on there, take your flathead, push up on it, you should be able to get it off without breaking it. So now we're going to pull these power connections off. So they don't give you much room for this plug to come out, okay? So we're going to pull this panel off that was off a minute ago, but I put it back on. There's a little push tab right here. I'm going to push in and push in, and that'll rock out, okay? So now this is easier to get to. So there's two buttons, left and right side. Just pinch in on those, and that'll come clear, okay? Then you can stick this back on. But if it's back on, it's gonna be harder. You're gonna have to pull it back off to get that to go in, because this piece is in the way too. On this clip, there's a button on the underneath side, right in the center. Just push in on that, and then pull out, okay? There's our button we're pushing right there. Unfortunately, all car manufacturers locate the button on the inside close to the plastic where there's no room to work. But this one, you got a little bit of room to work, so there's some different models that are a lot trickier to get to. So push that connection comes loose, okay? Throw this panel to the side, put the power control over. Now, we gotta undo a lot of the stuff on the underneath side of the pan. There's a lot of wires and connections underneath this seat because it's got the heated and cooled seats, and it's got all the bells and whistles to it. So bells and whistles equal lots of clips. So we're gonna get to undoing all those. You're gonna need a flathead for a lot of that. There's a couple screws that we're gonna need some of these Torx for too. So we come around, we'll walk you through all these. Okay, first, this is the main cable that hooks the power from the floorboard of the vehicle to the seat. So these clips, they're pretty tricky. There's a bunch of different iterations that they have of these. This one happens to have where you pinch two pieces on the bottom, so these little wings separate, and then this clip will push down and it ejects that out, just like it's 1970 and you got a VCR again, okay? Same kind of rig, and it locks back in, okay? There's some different ones that have a push tab here, that let it, undo, but as long as you know what you're looking for, because you're not gonna have as much room, because this part's gonna be done in the vehicle. When you unbolt the 4 bolts to get the seat out, you can lean the seat back towards the second row, and then you gotta get this connection undone. So usually takes 2 hands. You're gonna have one hand to pinch that, and one hand to get this started, to get it to release. Then you can let go, and you can use one hand to push it off. So that's how it comes. Don't force it. If it's not sliding like that, that means the catches aren't released. You don't wanna break this connection. If you break this connection and it doesn't seat in there just right, you risk throwing a lot of sensors off in your dash. First thing is probably gonna go off is your airbag light on your dash, and you don't wanna mess with any of that kind of stuff. Then you're back to buying probably a pretty dang expensive wiring harness from Chrysler, which you don't want to do. So pinch these, make sure this glides pretty effortlessly, push it all the way down, that ejects, okay? Put that to the side. Now we're going to start pulling some of this apart. So this piece here is going to need to come off. There's 2 screws to hold it on. There's going to be one up underneath here. It's a Torx. I believe this is going to be our T30. One on the corresponding side here, another T30. Now notice this side also has a wire. Okay, this is gonna be a ground wire going to something that's gonna go back on there. So when we put this back together, we're gonna make sure that ground wire is on this side closest to the door. Obviously the side that's gonna have the green wire, when you put it all back together, it's gonna be close to it. So let me grab my 30. This one, the extension may come in handy. There we go. Other side. You see your ground wire right there. Just get a connector on there so the bolt will go through the middle of it. Let that dangle there. Now we've got the top of it doesn't screw in. It's got a couple little tabs that that slide through a slot in the frame, okay? So that'll come loose. Now we're gonna get all the electrical connections that are hooked to this one. This one's much like this one. It's got two tabs on the sides. Pinch those in, that connection comes loose. Lay this down. Okay, now we got 3 more connections going across the back. So we're gonna push in on this blue one. That pops out. White one's got the side clamps. That comes out. This one's got a push tab on this side. That comes clear. Now we got this big, you know, your main wire harness going to the floor. We want to take that off just so we can get this whole assembly out of the way. So this clip, you see, kind of shapes like a V here. That's where our needle nose pliers are going to come in handy. We can pinch that and it'll pop off. So we'll pinch, just squeeze both sides, and kind of work it through. There we go. You can take this thing off. This whole gray assembly will come off, but it's a lot more of a whip. Might as well just pinch it and pull it off with it. It's a lot easier. Leave that in place. Okay, so when we take the bottom off, this whole bottom seat pan, this whole metal pan is going to come off. So any wire connection from this harness is connected to any part of the seat, we're going to have to disconnect. Otherwise, this pan's not going to come off. So I'm just going to kind of work my way from top to bottom, looking for all the different wire connections. So we got this connection here, push tab, pull out. We got one going to this motor. Just going to push from the bottom right here, push that. So these are a little bit trickier because they got metal, so you got a metal contacts there and metal in here versus a completely encased plastic piece. So there's going to be a lot more resistance getting these off because, you know, the metal can fuse together, it could, you know, build up corrosion in there and make it hard to come apart, whatnot. So if these don't just glide right off like one of these that are completely encased in plastic, just know that these are a little bit trickier to get off because you get the metal contact going within metal contacts in here, so it's got a whole lot tighter connection onto the motor. So if you're having to pull like hell on there, that's why it is, but that's what's going on. There's not some of the clip you've missed or something. It's still just the one piece you depress in and pry it off. That one came off a lot easier. There should be another one on the back side of this motor. Clip is, push tab is there. So we're gonna push it on that, and that came off a lot easier. Okay, now going to the bottom here, we got 1, 2, 3 connections here, okay? More than likely this heater here, this green wire is probably your heater wire and your heated and vented seat wire. This wire is traveling to the seat top. However, this thing's still connected to the pan and it's need to come off so we can take the pan off the seat. So unplug that. This one here, push tab, pull out, push tab, pull out. There we go. All these plugs are going to be a different configuration. So like you can't mix it up and put this one here and this one here, you know, that kind of jazz. It ain't going to go in. So there's not 100 of them that are the same one, so you don't worry about mixing them up. You're not really going to run into that problem. Plus, all these wires are kind of formed to where the place they're going to go, you know. So they've been sitting here bent like this for God knows how many years, you know, depending on what model it is. So they're all going to be pretty much close. So don't worry about, hey, I got 900 connections. I'm not sure where they're all going to go, and I finish it. You can't mix them up. You can't put the wrong one in the wrong slot. Okay, push here. That comes off. Okay, anything that's yellow is going to be an airbag pretty much, okay? So this one usually has like a double catch, so that pushes forward. So this is an extra lock. So that there, you can't, it blocks you from pushing the release tab. So this one here is going to slide back. Now that's releasing, exposing that piece. Going to push in on that and pull apart. There we go. Okay, that comes loose. All right, we got another one going to the side here. This might be, let's get a red tab, so it might be a double lock. Yep. Let's pull this off and we'll look at it. Okay. So this, usually when it has a red tab, it's going to be a lock tab, something like a double lock. So this pushed in when it's on, and so you had to slide it back to be able to push it for this to be able to depress in. So when this is back on, push it there, and then you push that tab down and it locks it into place, okay? You get it off, I'm gonna slide that red slide back, and then you can push in and it'll release, okay? So if you're having trouble getting any connection off that's red, typically the only things I've ever seen are red or dealing with airbag system stuff. So if you see a brightly colored different tab, typically it's gonna be a double lock. So you're gonna have to slide it or do something extra to it other than just coming in and just pushing it, okay? There's that. Let's see. Those connections are off. That's off, that's off. All right, now I'm gonna pull these two Torx off. That will start to remove the seat pan from the frame. And then I'm gonna have to go through and I can leave all these connections probably too, and I don't need to pull them all off. Some people do, but I don't see the point in it. Let's see. All right, this is still our 30, I believe. Yeah, T30. So this has a little, kind of a weird catch. Let me pry tool or flathead. Well, that'll pry right off. Okay, sweet. Okay. So at the back side, we'll get the other one off. We'll get some more clearance so we can show that a little bit better. Let's pull this one off here. Okay. So now these will kind of pull down. And so you can see the slots right there. There's a big hole there. So this side doesn't have a screw in it, but that tab is going to rock into there and then push forward. This tab obviously there goes into that hole right there. Push there when we're putting it back together, and will rock down in there. I get a little bit different angle. There we go. And then you put your screw back in, okay? So it doesn't have two screws. It's got, channel to go in on both sides. So we get that loose. Now we're gonna look and see, all right, this side, it's got a little push tab. It's got a hole for a second one, but I don't see the hole in the frame where it was gonna go. So I don't know, could just be a double hole, but we're gonna pull that sucker there right there. Let me get a pry tool. Wedge in there, work this back and forth. Get this guy out. Okay, sweet, so that's disconnected. Now, let's see if my pan will come off. Obviously, if you missed a connection when you're pulling this apart, it's not gonna come, it won't come completely off. So just look and see what's still connected. Undo it, keep moving on. So looks like our airbag clip, the female end here, is hooked to the pan, but this cable's still running through the seat somewhere. So we're gonna need to disconnect this from the metal pan to get it completely off. Let's see what kind of clip we got. Let's just pry it with some push tabs. Okay. There we go. All right, that's clear. Okay, what do we got hooked here? That's it. Okay, so that came through. This one originally, the carpet on the back, the little back flap that wraps around, had kind of rusted on. You can see the rust here, that wraps around that back metal piece here. So if it's not just pulling right through, just go to the back side, grab this carpet, loosen, pull it, loosen it if it's adhered to it. Just make sure there's no wire connections on there. But if you got all the wires undone, it's still not coming free. Go to the back of the seat, grab this carpet piece, kind of pull it off if it's kind of rusted on there and stuck onto it. So now we got our seat bottom pan separate from the seat. I'm going to move this seat out of the way. It's got a little more room to work. Screws aside. 4, 5 total screws. Okay, now all the clips that hold the cover to the frame, we're going to go around and we're going to pop all those off, okay? So you need a flathead. A lot of these edges can be really sharp. You don't want to mess with getting cut up on these things. Take a flathead. Don't try to get in there with your fingers trying to pry it back. It's going to hurt like hell. Coming from the side here, start prying back. There we go. So you can see on the front of the frame, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little indentions in the frame, okay? So you get the sheet metal, and then it punches the there's a machine that punches these holes in there, okay? So that kicks in a little metal tab on the front right here. So here's your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little tabs. On the inside, you can see this got the metal lips pushed through, okay? The back side of those things are pretty sharp sometimes. And here's our clip. And you can see there's rails on the clip on the sides. So these catches in the clip are what catching on those right there, okay? So normal logic would say you get a regular clip, it just comes over and hooks on. What's kind of funky, a lot of automotive stuff does it kind of bass-backwards, where the clip rolls over. So instead of just having a clip sewn on this and it goes around and just hooks straight on, okay, this rig's gonna completely roll over. So it's making a complete rollover and then pushing down into the frame, okay? So that's how it goes on. But that's where the catches are. That's why the clip is the way it is. We use a specific clip that has the catches to catch onto that. So that's what, when you put it on, you're gonna hear it snap on hard. When we put the new one on, you'll hear it. Just work your way around, pop all these off. Back here. Okay, another one. All right, those are all free. All right, now we're going to peel the cover off of the foam, okay? So start in one corner and just start to kind of turn it inside out. I just roll it like that. Don't rip the cover off, just undo the corners. Get all 4 corners done. Turn this inside out like so. Okay, now we're gonna detach the cover from the foam. Okay, so there's several different methods you use in the automotive world to attach the cover to the foam. So there's either Velcro or hook and loop. Hog rings, which is a metal ring that bends around, it's like a big staple, clamps it on. And recently, I say in the last 10 years or so, they've made some different channels. It's got a plastic rail on a piece of cloth that's sewn on the underneath side, and there's a clip on the inside of the frame that just pushes into and snaps, okay? This particular seat has those, the push in and snap, and also has the Velcro. So what you want to do is you want to slowly work your Velcro up. You don't want to just take it and rip it up, because you risk ripping the Velcro out of the foam, because there's Velcro embedded attached to the foam. You don't want to rip that out. You want to try to eliminate ripping that out. If you do rip it out, it's not the end of the world. Get some spray adhesive, 3M spray adhesive. There's a DAP, top and trim spray glue, contact adhesive. Both of them are in rattle cans you can get at Lowe's, Home Depot. Typically in the paint section with the glue and stuff like this, but usually around the paint section where you can find those cans. You know, they're 10 or 15 bucks or something. Get you a can. If you pull, that does pull up, glue it back down. So I'm just gonna work this up the side, undo the Velcro there, come up side here. Push down on the Velcro with one thumb and then up on the, pull up on the cover. Just to give them some extra structure so you don't yank it up. Okay, so now we got our horizontal pieces. So these have those clips, okay? So there's 3 clips. We got a clip here, there, and there, okay? So these things kind of make a C channel. So you're gonna push down on this little tab and it's gonna pop out, okay? So you can see how this plastic is shaped kind of like an arrow, and these catches here are what catch in that clamp. So there's the little C channel. So we're just spreading those open so we can get that out. Same thing here, push down, roll it out, and over here, okay? Same thing, rinse and repeat on the front. Same stuff. Pop, pop, boom. Okay, cover's off. Foam. A lot of people call and ask, how do I put the foam on? How does the foam attach to the frame, whatever? The foam is, what holds the foam on is the cover. There's nothing special that holds this on. It just pops off. This one's hold down a little bit more because it's got the air conditioned seats. So it has the bladder for the air to blow through, and it's hooked to an air duct to a blower motor underneath there. That's why this isn't just completely lifting straight up off. But the underneath side of the foam is molded to the frame. So if you're replacing your foam, it just drops on. That's all it is. It's the only thing that holds it on. You wrap around, this thing clips on all the way around. This thing ain't going a damn place, okay? So what we're gonna do is we need to remove this piece. If you're replacing the foam, you don't have to have it off unless you're replacing the foam. The foam, you can get a replacement foam, probably at the dealer right now, but we're gonna look at probably molding these so you can put a new Durafoam cushion in there. Typically the only part of the foam that wears out is gonna be your left edge. So this is the driver's seat, the left edge from getting in and out. This side's just gonna get pounded over the years. It's gonna flatten down, it's gonna lose its density. There's a 100% failure rate on foam. It's gonna wear out. It's like a pair of tennis shoes, your mattress. It's gonna, it has life expectancy. So putting a new cover on an old worn out foam or something where the density is lost on the side, it's a recipe for disaster because your new cover is not gonna hold up like it should. It's not gonna have the support here to get it, to support the leather when you get it out. You're gonna get a fold or a crease on this line because the foam's soft and your cover's gonna wear out a whole lot faster. So this happens to be a pretty new seat. It didn't have any miles on this truck. This is still pretty firm. We still want to steam out the foam. So if your truck's only a couple years old or something happened to the cover, you put a new one on, you can probably steam it out, be good with it. If you got 80,000 miles or more on it, you really want to look at replacing the foam cushion on it if you're planning on keeping the vehicle. It's going to make a world of difference, okay? So we're going to steam this. We're going to steam this out. So steam's going to puff the foam back up. So it's going to add a little more life to it. It's going to bring it back closest to its original shape and size. And that's important because we want the cover, the foam, to be as close to the original shape as possible when we're putting it on. That way all the seams line up in the right spot when we're putting it on. Now later on, if the foam breaks down and squishes back down or whatever, that's okay. But the cover, when we're putting it on, we want it to line up in all the correct spaces, just right out the gate, so everything's laying right. Something's not laying at a weird position, sitting funky. So we're going to steam this guy out. So this is a commercial steamer. You don't need a commercial steamer. Regular garment steamer, Walmart, $30 will do the job. Take a little bit longer, but it'll work. It'll make a big difference on the foam. So we're gonna get this fired up here. We're gonna steam this sucker out, show you how that works.